Oh, crap. Oh, there we go. Woo! How are you?
Good, good.
All right.
Good to see you again, Taryn. How's everything?
Everything's going good. How about you?
Everything's good. Yeah, like we were saying, I had a wonderful summer, and it's atypical to have 90 degrees in Pennsylvania, but we had a little bit of that, and
Yeah.
a lot of, but just a lot of stuff. It was a great summer, and now we're heading back to Florida. And when I'm up here, I look for Bigfoot, and when I'm down in Florida, I look for the skunk ape. So, so far, nothing, no luck yet. So, but
Really? And
I
how
do want to.
long have you been? How long have you been looking for Bigfoot?
I'm not sure, to tell you the truth, but the other day, actually the other week, we were walking. My wife and I were walking at a place called the Riverlands, and I looked and I saw this dark shape. And I want to see, I'm like a lot of people, I want to see Bigfoot in the worst way. I mean, really, I mean, just one time in my life. But I saw this shape, this huge shape. It was dark, and it veered to the left. And I'm praying that it's Bigfoot. And it took like 1001, 1002, 1003, 3 seconds. And then the shape started to come towards me. And here it was a woman wearing a jacket with like sort of like padded shoulders that made her look a lot larger and everything.
Oh, wow.
But for those 3 seconds, I mean, there it was. I was hoping that it was Sasquatch, and I thought it was. And I looked, and I mean, I'm getting closer, but it wasn't. But I got a real thrill. I mean, that was like, I mean, I'm still talking about it. It was such a vibe. So, people that actually see Bigfoot, that actually see him, I'm sure it's transformative. I'm sure it changes their life and turns everything upside down and all that. So,
well, sure. Well, have you ever thought about what if you ever did encounter Bigfoot? What would you do?
Yeah, I'm on a lot of these podcasts, and they ask me that, and I don't know. I'm sure I would freak out.
Yeah,
I would freak out. What would I do? I mean, I would be respectful. I wouldn't want to scare him. I wouldn't want to harm him, but I would keep my distance, I guess, and just observe. But I can't imagine what that's like. I mean, everything's kicking in. Your adrenaline, your serotonin, your dopamine. I mean, you're just like out of your head. I mean, something that that I've never experienced. And I've talked to people that have seen things, whether Bigfoot or orbs or saucers. And I mean, they talk about this in a very respectful way.
Sure.
And I think too, that I think some people have they have an ability to see things that maybe are always out there, whatever they are. And they're able to see them. Whereas people like me, and I don't know about you, but I don't see these things, and I'm looking.
I see some things. I've seen some things that I can't explain. What I saw, I don't know.
And the other thing too, let's say this too. Let's say that what you see is a gift. It's like almost like a sacred gift. And do you really want to go and tell the world about it and invite criticism and castigation, or do you just want to keep that to yourself? So that's the other thing too. I don't don't know. If I saw something, I mean, I don't know what I would do, because I don't need that experience to sell myself and for my resume or my credibility. But I don't know. I know, I feel that there's some people out there that are misrepresenting the truth. And I listen to some of these podcasts and I hear about these guys that hang out with a family of Sasquatch and give them apples and peaches and everything else and communicate with them. And I don't know. I mean, show me the proof. That's all. Just show me the proof.
Show me the proof. It's
Yeah,
the money,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um,
So anyway, that's that. But
well, okay, so I mean, like a little off of your topic, but like, what do you think is Skinwalker Ranch? Do you
yeah,
think
look,
that that?
yeah, I think that there's a lot of things out there that we just can't explain. There's a lot of things, like even with Bigfoot. If we could get back to there,
Yeah,
with Bigfoot, you have two camps. You have the flesh and blood camp, and they're looking for that body, or they're looking for the DNA. And I'm not there. I'm like on the other side, but I still straddle the fence. And with those Sasquatchers, the ones that are like that you saw when you're out in Western Pennsylvania, there's eyewitness reports, there's footprints, the foot casts that are larger than man or larger than bear, with strides that are larger than anything that we could do or bears could do. There's the smell, there's the sounds, there's things that the scientific community doesn't accept as proof, but still, J. Allen Hynek, when he talked about levels of high strangeness, you have eyewitnesses. That's one thing, but then when you have the tracks and the smell and the sounds, and maybe the paranormal events that tend to follow Bigfoot, then you have something there, and not
right.
conclusive, but it gets my attention.
Now, okay, you've never seen Bigfoot, okay,
Yeah.
but say, have you had any of the other stuff happen where you're like, okay, maybe, but I didn't see it, so but all this other stuff has happened?
Yeah, I'm a Vietnam veteran. I was in the Navy, and I was on the. Thank you. I was on the.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Yeah, you don't have to do that, but thanks anyway. No, when I got out of the Navy, they had signs: "Dogs and sailors keep off the grass." So we're used to that. I think
Yeah.
as Vietnam vets have an attitude. So you know, uh,
My uncle's a Vietnam vet,
yeah,
and
okay, yeah.
yeah,
I remember when somebody first said "Welcome home." I was ready to cry. Nobody ever
yeah,
told me that. Welcome home. Welcome. But anyway,
yeah.
um, I was a radarman aboard the USS Constellation. It was an aircraft carrier, and I saw UFOs. I saw numerous UFOs, and I'm talking about
Really?
solid, tangible contacts that were more maneuverable than any uh, guided missiles that we had or the Soviet Union had. And then, as today, 3% of those things can't be identified. They're either ours, theirs, or extraterrestrial, or, if you will, interdimensional. Take your pick. But
Right.
when and most of us that were serving aboard, serving in the Navy, were little babies. We were under the age of 20, so we're like fighting this war. And when we saw these UFOs, they said, "Keep your mouth shut. Don't tell anybody." And we would put them in these log books, UFOs, course, range, and bearing, and all this stuff. And I would go through the log books and see all these UFO sightings, these reports. And then the next day, those log books would disappear and they would start over again. So, a lot of us were told not to talk about these anomalies that we saw. And it wasn't just the Navy. I talked to, military guys in the Air Force that said the same thing. So we've seen these things since day one. Even today, 3% of them can't be identified. You could say, and even with my experience, you know, back in the 50s and 60s, they would say that if you saw a UFO, you were either crazy, needy, you saw reflections from Venus, swamp gas, you were hallucinating. They would have like the 15 reasons why you didn't see what you said you saw.
Right.
But with the radar scope, that is a solid, tangible object. It's not a hallucination or gas, marsh gas or anything else. So, we know what we saw, and so that's that.
So is what is your, because you've done a lot, but are UFOs your main focus of study?
No, they're not. I'm a former rock journalist. Rock and roll's my main focus of study. But as you know, I was on your program a while back. Um, in northeastern Pennsylvania. Now we're not like Jersey where you have Springsteen and like 1,000,001 rock bands that have hit the top, Bon Jovi and everybody else. So in northeastern Pennsylvania, around Wilkes-Barre, we had one band. It was called the Boys, who scored big with a song called Timothy in 1971. Timothy went to number 13 on Billboard. So because they were our hometown heroes, I'm writing a book about the connection between the song Timothy and the Sheppton mining disaster of 1963. And in both cases, the song and the real life event, 3 guys were entombed. And Ron Murphy from Western Pennsylvania. Hello, Ron.
I love Ron.
Ron was just one of the guest speakers at the Albatwitch Festival in Columbia, Pennsylvania. And folks, if you haven't been there, go to Albatwitch in October. Thousands of people, and it's just wonderful. That's Albatwitch is our little Mothman, our little gremlin.
Oh, cool! Never heard of it. Never heard of it.
Yeah, check it out. It's really pretty cool. But anyway, so what was I saying? So I was doing this this story. I was connecting the song Timothy with the Sheppton disaster, and I discovered that Sheppton had all these paranormal aspects and out-of-body experiences, after death experiences, and near-death experiences. And so I had that book published in 2016, and that opened up the doors to the paranormal. I mean, for me, and and so since then, I've had so that was 2016, and those 9 years, Sheppton, Coleridge and Hoodoo, Flying Saucer Esoteric, and my latest one, the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, that just came out about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And that is, I really love the book, but this is published by Hangar One. There's a picture of me in Greenwich Village at Club Wa as a rock journalist. And anyway, the thing about the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, and take a look at this. I think this is kind of new, but throughout the book you have these QR codes, and you take your phone and you hit that with your camera, and it'll open up a video, like a 3-4 minute video of me giving a synopsis of that chapter. So there's about 8 of them.
That's pretty cool.
It really is, yeah. So that's it's innovative, it's old technology that they're using, repurposing, I guess, but it's great. It works. I mean, it works every time. So
awesome. So you also had to do these videos for the book.
Yeah, they contacted me and said they wanted to go and shoot these, and they said, yeah, it is a great idea. They said, give me some of your favorite chapters. So in Bigfoot, I really love the Patterson-Gimlin film from 1967. So we talked about that. I have a very controversial chapter called "Is Bigfoot the New Religion?" and which got me banned from the Bloomsburg Fair, the Bloomsburg County Fair, and which is another story. But anyway, I talked about several of these chapters, and they interviewed me, and the videos turned out really good. So I was here in my office up here in Mackinac, Pennsylvania, and anyway, it's good. So the book's been out, and we're getting some good reviews, and I'm just excited. It's great to be working with Hangar One.
So help me, because when you say tribes of Bigfoot, me not being a Bigfooter, not knowing that much, I'm picturing tribes.
Yeah.
On an island somewhere.
Okay.
Right. Tribes. I'm picturing tribes of Bigfoots. So can you explain the premise of the book? Were there multiple tribes reported?
I don't know if there were. I'm thinking, I don't think there were. I think, whenever I hear about people talk about Bigfoot, they may talk about Bigfoot families. They may talk about solitary Bigfoot, or they talk about Bigfoot creatures traveling in threes. Like, for example, in Pennsylvania's Wisner State Forest, there's a guy there that's been tracking what he thinks is their migratory patterns. But usually there's groups of 3. My Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, the title was a metaphor. It was sort of a working metaphor. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to assemble all of the theories that people had about what Bigfoot might be. So if it's not flesh and blood, is there something out there that may give us some clues as to who Bigfoot is? So one clue, of course, is Neanderthal man. Now, some of us, as many as 30% of the population has as much as 3% of Neanderthal DNA. And that's because Neanderthal, Homo erectus, and Homo sapiens walked the earth at the same time, and they interbred. What we get from Neanderthal, as I understand it, we get hair color, we get sleep patterns, and we get cardiac issues. So, but that's Neanderthal. So some people, some researchers believe that Neanderthal is still out there somehow connected to Homo sapiens and to Bigfoot. Maybe, I don't like the term missing link, but they use that term missing link. Another one is Gigantopithecus, and Giganto was a 12-foot tall ape that looked a lot like an orangutan. And Giganto was from Asia, but the theory is that Gigantopithecus crossed the Bering Strait when our continents were together and landed in the Pacific Northwest. And what we know as Bigfoot is actually Giganto. So you have people like Lauren Coleman and Dr. Jeff Meldrum and Nick Redfern, who talk about these creatures as being possible links to Bigfoot. And again, we don't know, but some of the theories are pretty interesting. And we're looking at things. If we're looking at tribes, we're looking at the abominable snowman, the Yeti, the Almas, Sasquatch, Bigfoot. Another one is the Australopithecus, and this was interesting because Lucy was discovered in 1974 in Ethiopia, and this is interesting with the Patterson-Gimlin film of 1967. This is our holy grail. This is the proof that many of us believe is the proof showing that Bigfoot exists. It's only 58 seconds long, and it shows this female Bigfoot. You could see the breast, but the Bigfoot walks, turns, and looks at Roger Patterson, and then keeps on walking. All of the researchers that look at this say it is not a man in a Bigfoot costume. There's no seams or anything. You could see the muscles of the glutes. I mean, it's very muscular, and it just walks different than a human being walks. But here's the thing. John Napier was a primatologist from Great Britain. And John Napier in 1972, he was at the Smithsonian, and he took a look at this Patterson-Gimlin film and said, no, it has to be fake. And he said he thought it was fake because the upper part of Patty, that's what they called it, was ape-like, and the bottom part was hominid. It was like bipedal. So he thought that they just slapped together an ape and a human and passed it off as Patty. Now, that was in 1972. In 1974, Lucy was discovered in Ethiopia. That was Australopithecus. And the interesting thing about Lucy was that Lucy had an upper body, very strong upper body to climb trees, like upper body like an ape, but it could walk like a human being, was bipedal. So at that point, John Napier changed his mind and he said, wait a second, science has caught up to the theory. He goes, I believe that Patterson-Gimlin film is true, is correct, and is proven by science. So, from 72 to 74, he had a change of heart. And I talk a lot about that Patterson-Gimlin film from 67 and compare that with the Flying Saucer film of 2004, where Navy pilots shot that Tic Tac video off the coast of San Diego. And that Tic Tac was doing G-force turns faster than anything that humans could withstand. And then it hovered and went underwater. So the Pentagon, who had just recently changed the name from UFOs to UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon, then changed that term a UAP to unidentified anomalous phenomenon because this thing was going underwater. So anyway, I believe there's a lot of similarities between Bigfoot and UFOs, and I talk about that in the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot. And one of the commonalities is the paranormal aspect that they both share.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if because a lot of people talk about that, about how they think. I mean, if you think about the word paranormal, it's anything not normal. It's the opposite of normal, right? So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, globally, everybody thinks paranormal are ghosts, spirits,
Right, yeah.
Whatever you want to call it, right? But technically, paranormal is not normal. So they all could fall under that same umbrella.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Frederick Santee, he was a white witch, and he's in my book, the Coleridge Hoodoo. But Dr. Santee told me that he felt that the supernatural and science were the same, that we just haven't found the laws that apply. Like, for example, you see lights in the sky, and you see orbs, and you see these anomalies, and we see them. I mean, they're real, they're tangible, but we don't know what they are. So we call them supernatural. But when you see like an apple fall, it's cause and effect. The effect is the apple dropping, and the cause is Newton's law of gravity. So that's an easy one, the cause and effect. But with all these other things, we see the effect, but we don't know what the cause is. Certainly, maybe down the line, science will go and come up with, there's probably laws of physics that we misread, we misunderstand, we don't understand. I mean, there's still a lot of things out there that we're still learning about, and and I think even with the anomalous lights, when people come up to me and tell me about their experiences, it's usually two things. Do you have any idea what that is? They tell me about experiencing two things.
That they saw red eyes. What are you talking about? With Bigfoot?
No, anything.
Oh, anything.
Yeah. That's a wide net. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they tell me that they either see orbs,
Oh,
or they see and talk to dead people.
right.
But it's those two things, and I mean,
That's true,
again,
because it happens to us, enthusiasts, like if anybody that does this, they know better. But like people that are enthusiasts will definitely bring up orbs to me all the time.
yeah, okay, yeah.
All the time. They say, "Oh, my family, we got family pictures. There's orbs everywhere," and I'm not mean, so I'm just like, "Oh, really?" You just kind of, let it go. But, but yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. There's a really interesting theory. It's a juicy theory about that. Like we have, let me see if I got this right. I think we have 4 dimensions, like height, width, depth, and time. And then this other guy was saying that, well, maybe there's 5. And that 5th dimension may explain some of these things that we don't explain. And then you have a string theory that adds more dimensions. So, with that theoretical string theory, you have even more dimensions and universes that will go and fit up to the science, that we don't understand. So again, I don't know, that's as much as I know about it, but it's intriguing and interesting. And that's probably where the discoveries are going to be made, by these physicists who are working on string theory and the 5th dimension or the 6th dimension. So
it's funny, like I think about too, like, are we experiencing either time lapses or people slip time or slipping, like dimensional slips? Is that why we aren't finding bones? We aren't finding, dead Bigfoots anywhere, or, we don't have aliens, bodies,
no.
You know what I mean? Like, are we
Yeah.
witnessing these time slips or dimensional slips, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. Why haven't we found a body? So some theories that, even with a bear, even with an animal carcass, there's a lot of predators and scavengers that will go and peck away at that. And, so that body may not last long. Now, I don't know how long, but I'm thinking that maybe in the woods, those bodies would disappear. So that's one thing. There's a theory that Bigfoot's they're cannibals. The other theory is that they take care of each other, maybe like Neanderthal. They bury their dead. So, they have that. And then the one that I hang my hat on is that interdimensional theory. And, I'm not the only one, but I mean, I think that Bigfoot has psychic abilities. I think as Homo sapiens has developed cognitive abilities, I think that Bigfoot has developed psychic abilities, possibly the ability to shapeshift in between dimensions and parallel universes. What's known as bilocation. You see them in front of you, then they're behind you. That rapid transport. So, again, these are theories, but just like J. Allen Hynek, who came up with terminology like levels of high strangeness, and also the first, second, and third dimensions of close encounters of the third kind. We see them, we see evidence that they were there, and then we see the visitors. Those three things, and then maybe the fourth, that being abducted. But Hynek did one thing that a lot of other people didn't do, and he gave us terminology and gave us categories that you could take these anomalies and slot them in there. So that's what Hynek did. And these people that are talking about the interdimensional theories and bilocation are doing the same thing. So that's the best we have now. Come up with the theory. Give me your theory for what Bigfoot and UFOs are, and then get it out there, and then let's just talk about it and just see if that works or it doesn't. That's the scientific method. You either give it the thumbs up or the thumbs down. So
yeah. So what is it that you have found over your years of research that make you lean more towards an interdimensional being?
Well, we've had plenty of time to find the body and to find proof. And again, some of those foot casts are very impressive. But again, we haven't found a body, and we haven't found DNA. We found DNA fibers from bears and some rare animals, but we haven't found the actual thing. The interdimensional theory was proposed by Albert Einstein in the 30s. And he called it the wormhole theory. And his theory was that you would, with the space brothers going from here to Earth, it would take just too many trillions of light years, too much energy. No technology, is able to adapt to that. So he was talking about taking that space-time continuum and folding it in half, and then there would be a wormhole or a bridge. And so then those space travelers would just go through this interdimensional thing rather than the galactic thing, from one planet to the other. Now, people like Einstein, Jacques Vallée, John Keel, a lot of people believed in that interdimensional theory. It's more valid now than it has been. I think more people are talking about it. And even though Bigfoot people call people like me woo, woo or Dr. Woo, because they, anything that's not flesh and blood is, a little bit weird and a little bit woo. But there's plenty of people that are, talking about this. And this is where I think the answers are going to be found. Again, what else do we have? I mean, give me a theory and let's talk about it. The flesh and blood only goes so far.
Yeah.
I respect those people, but and I read all the books, and I have Jeff Meldrum's Legend Meets Science is an awesome book. I mean, man, it's thick. It's a comprehensive book. I mean, I love the book, but my book goes just in another dimension, and I think it's just as valid, but I take a look at some of those other theories, including Jung's collective unconscious theory, that just maybe this thing about Bigfoot may be something that we received from our ancestors they saw something threatening and it gets filed into the amygdala. So today, in modern day, when you see something that's frightening, you search your data banks. I mean, is it friend or foe? And this may be residue, may be DNA from, early on from our ancestors. And that certainly is very plausible. I mean, DNA is DNA. So, you know,
That's true.
yeah,
Stacy, earlier, she had said, she strongly believes in interdimensional, possibly in
yeah,
mental,
yeah.
but then she had a question. She says, my question for you is, do you believe elemental spirits are interdimensional?
Yeah. Well, that interdimensional thing, I think it's a pathway. It's almost like a highway. So doesn't matter who's aboard that. Whether it's Bigfoot, UFOs, or spirits. You know, I believe in a spirit world. I had an opportunity to meet Ed and Lorraine Warren, and they were the famous demonologists. The Conjuring 1, 2, and 15,
Sure.
and 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 they were I met them in 1988. They were on a 15 city book tour, so I had a chance to meet them and stay in contact with them over the years before they died. And Lorraine had a pet rooster. You could hear the rooster in the background. But anyway, I would call Ed and ask him how he did battle with these demonic forces, and he would talk about how he would drape the power of Jesus Christ and Padre Pio and Saint Michael the Archangel around him to do battle with these demons and all that. But I believe that there's a spirit world. I believe that there's dimensions. It scares me when I see these younger people going into haunted houses looking for these spirits. Because I mean, you don't know what you're looking for. And also, I advise people, and again, do what you want to do, but I'd say personally, I stay away from tarot cards, seances, fortune tellers, Ouija boards, all that. I think they are portals, could be portals to other dimensions, other worlds. And
But if you think about it, like everything we do, even when we're researching or looking for Bigfoot, it's all kind of you're trying to evoke that communication somehow. You're looking for that somehow.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
So, like it does. To me, it doesn't matter what you use or how you use it. If that's what if that's what your end game is, if that's what your motivation is, it doesn't matter how you get there, right?
right, yeah, um, Dalai Lama said that many roads lead to the same place. Many paths lead to the same destination. So yeah, doesn't matter how you get there. Doesn't matter what your motivation is either. I don't think. But with all of that, I think that I'm too vulnerable to. I mean, I don't want to get caught up in this stuff. I think I'm too vulnerable. I think that I would just be. I study this as an academic, as a student. I keep my distance. Um, you know. I did 2 presentations on Catholic mysticism. I'm a former practicing Catholic. I did one in Florida and one in Pennsylvania. We had over 100 people there. And these are people that want to hear about the saints and the miracles and St. Teresa of Avila and Padre Pio. I mean, interesting stuff. I mean, this speaks to me like you wouldn't believe. But for the folks out there that don't know, Padre Pio was the Italian priest, and he had the stigmata. He bled the wounds of Christ. And what they did was the priest and the brothers, they weren't sure what was going on. They thought he might have been a con artist. So they wrapped his wrist with gauze, and they watched that for like 6-7 days. And then they took off the gauze just to see if there were signs of scabbing over. If Padre Pio was human like the rest of us. And there wasn't. The wounds were still raw. They were still bleeding. So he did that. And the other thing, too, that's pretty interesting, Padre Pio had his own form of bilocation. I don't know what that has to do with Bigfoot, but they saw Padre Pio in an opera house. He was surrounded by a whole lot of people. They saw him. He spoke, and then he was also like 100 miles away at another place speaking. Again, 2 places at the same time. The Vatican didn't know what to make of this guy. thousands of people were coming to his church in Italy, and they thought he was a con artist. They thought he was delusional, but he had the ability to con people into his believing that his delusions were real. They didn't know what to do with him. They thought he was a con artist, and and he was being investigated and castigated and everything else. But he was pretty interesting. And but anyway, I spoke with my Catholic mysticism. I talk about Padre Pio and Saint Teresa of Avila, who said that through prayer and meditation, we could reach states of ecstasy, rapture, and flight of the soul, which is an out-of-body experience that happened in Sheppton with those two miners. So this is like just interesting stuff. It's about miracles and saints. It's about demonology and exorcists. And I really love that stuff because it just speaks to me and it's powerful, So it's, I think maybe more so than Bigfoot and UFOs and everything else. But, if I had the time, I would write a book on Catholic mysticism because I definitely have a demographic group and I know there's interest. But again, I'm not a theologian. I'm not even a practicing Catholic, so I don't know if my credibility is isn't very good.
Yeah, I'm a former Catholic too.
Okay.
So okay, hold on a second. So let me jump back here. So Victor, hi Vic. So if Sasquatch has capabilities to traverse between dimensions, does it have any motive when it shows up in ours? Like allegedly the Mothman or the Men in Black?
Okay. Well, thanks for mentioning the Men in Black because Albert Bender was from Duryea, Pennsylvania, that is in my backyard. So kudos to NEPA, to Northeastern Pennsylvania, Albert Bender and the Men in Black. But that's interesting. I mean, if they can traverse between dimensions, maybe they're observing us. In pretty much every description of Bigfoot is not aggressive. He doesn't threaten people. He's shy. He runs away from people. Most of these reports about Bigfoot are pretty tame. I mean, if you and I were going to go and put up a hoax and talk about Bigfoot, we talk about Bigfoot attacking us and we fought him off and everything else. They don't talk about that. They talk about Bigfoot being very predictable. He sees us. Even with Patty, in the Gimlin '67 film, Patty looked at Patterson and then walked away. Some people have theorized that there were other little Sasquatches there and that Patty was just leading Patterson and Gimlin away from those little critters, just to protect them. So I don't know. But I mean, why? I mean, if there are Bigfoot and aliens and space brothers visiting us, what are they looking at? Because man is pretty sad when you take a look at what we're doing to the planet, when you're looking how we're bombing the hell out of each other, on and on and on. There's too many examples of man destroying man.
I always had the impression that Bigfoots were like here for survival, like supplies, food, water, whatever. You know what I mean? Like I always felt like because correct me if I'm wrong, again, I don't do a lot of Bigfoot research or anything like that, but I feel like the things that I have read or things that I've seen, Bigfoot looks like he's on a mission. Like he's going somewhere to go somewhere. You know what I mean? Like there's no like searching. He's on a mission, right? Like when people say they see them, they're walking, they're like in this. Even if they turn and see you, they like turn and see you and they just keep going because
they're
they're on a mission. So for me, I get the impression, and this is just my opinion, but Bigfoot it always seemed to me like they're coming here for supplies.
Yeah. Now the closest I came to an encounter was my neighbor Joseph Lipinski. We were out for dinner and he just told me very matter-of-factly that he saw not one but two Bigfoot. And I live in a tiny little mountain community called Macanaqua, and it was up in the cemetery. And Joe saw not one but two. One was black, one was cinnamon, and they looked at him, and then they started to walk away. And they looked curious, but they didn't look afraid. And then they walked away like humans, bipedal. So, hey, Rich. So, Rich Roselle from Northeastern Pennsylvania.
Love Rich.
Okay.
Yep, I love Rich.
He's a great guy, yeah. So So Joe told me about this, and then I reported that to Eric Altman and Stan Gordon. And we're fortunate in Pennsylvania to have people like Stan Gordon. Whenever the state police get a review of a Bigfoot or UFO, they say call Stan. So Stan keeps the tally. And Stan's the man. I mean, he has all this documentation of people seeing Bigfoot and or UFOs, what time of day, how many people, where it was. I mean, it's good, scientific data. So he's been keeping that information, that intel for us, which is just really pretty phenomenal. So Pennsylvania's lucky to have guys like Stan Gordon, Eric Altman, Ron Murphy, who's in the House, all those
Yeah.
people, all these.
And Maxim Furek, you left.
Well, let's hope. I mean, I'm not, up there with those guys, but hopefully one day I will be. But yeah, they've done their homework. They've been in the trenches for a long time, and again, going out there, and even Sean Forker talks about going out there looking for Bigfoot is the most boring thing in the world, because you wait and wait and wait, and you don't see anything, and then maybe you'll hear a wood knock, or somebody will throw something at you, or you'll hear something. So there'll be something, there'll be a sign. But I think, if anything, going out there in the woods with fellow Bigfoot searchers, it has to be a spiritual experience. Like there's a lot of connection there, shared values and all that, and it's
Yeah,
it's just a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful connection. So,
Stacy's asking, have you read any book by Ron? I cannot even say that last name. Tessurio?
Yeah, Tessurio. I think that's right. Tessurio. No, I don't know the name, but if you could recommend a book, okay. Miracles from a scientific point of view. Okay, yeah. Let me put that up again, and let me just write that down. Okay. Okay, I'll look that up. Soriero. Yeah, I think that the paranormal and the spiritual and the scientific are closely related. And in co-region Hoodoo, I tried to go and put those all together. So I did have a chapter on St. Teresa of Avila, and there's information on Padre Pio and all that, because I think that that's important. It's pretty much all the same. It's all interconnected. It's all about vibration and all that. And I think a lot of your listeners are probably out there with maybe a higher vibration and a higher level of consciousness, because they're searching. They want the answers. And so they're here. And this is just awesome to see everybody. Look, Penny Hurst. Hello, good evening, all. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is just great to have this interactive thing.
Oh yeah. And I love it. I love, because, and this helps to people. I really hope you guys check out Max on. I mean, what are some of your? We don't have, our time isn't up yet, but where can some people find? They can find you on Facebook.
Yeah, you could find me on Facebook with my latest. Yeah, do that. My latest book cover that I hope to get this out this year. It's called Paranormal Apocalypse, and I guess there's no way to show this on your screen, right? I mean, there's probably not.
Do you have something on yours that says like share screen?
Yeah. No, wait. I think I do. Well, I don't know, but if they jump on my Facebook page, you'll see Paranormal Apocalypse. Is this how it ends? So check that out. I mean, that's pretty ghoulish. I mean, that's perfect for Halloween. I mean, it's just, God, don't look at it before you go to bed. That's pretty wicked. But anyway, that's going to be my, the book I'm working on next. Paranormal Apocalypse. But anyway, they could get autographed copies of, hey, Jesse, good to see you, Jesse. Autographed copies of my book from www.maximfurek.com. Or, of course, you could go to Amazon and give Jeff Bezos your money. Jeff's a billionaire, and he could always use another $20 or whatever. So, I tell people, listen, I mean, if you have a choice between Amazon or supporting somebody like Ron Murphy or myself, I mean, support us. I mean, I mean, we're the proverbial struggling authors or struggling artists. And I mean, and this, I'm not complaining. That's, I chose this profession and I choose to do this. But really, Amazon really doesn't need more money. I mean, they've already hijacked the whole
for
game,
sure.
the whole game. That's why you're not going to the mall. You're shopping on Amazon. So anyway,
Yeah. No, yeah.
anyway, that's my thing. But MaximFurek.com. You could check me out there, and I have a number of books. I certainly, if you're interested in the Sheppton, the Myth, Miracle, and Music kicked it all off in 2016, and then 9 years later, the Bigfoot is my latest one, which is a great book if you're into
I
Bigfoot.
will say that I love the cover.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And really we worked on that, and I know somebody said, "Well, hey, they don't look like Bigfoot." Well, they're supposed to look ape-like, It's a tribe, so that's okay. So, but anyway,
what I find interesting is like UFO sightings. I don't know how far back they go, right? Paranormal, like ghosty type sightings, they go back pretty far, centuries.
Yeah.
And then I do you know what the earliest
UFO
or Bigfoot sighting, the earliest?
Well, yeah, I have a bunch of those documented in the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, but in 1924, that was the first Bigfoot abduction, and Albert Ostman.
I never heard of a Bigfoot abduction.
Yeah, and this sort of parallels with the 1963 Barney and Betty Hill abduction in New Hampshire in the White Mountains.
Wait a second. There's more than one. More than one. I don't know what to call it. Why is my brain drawing a blank?
A Bigfoot abduction
claim? There's more than one claim of this?
No, I think, as far as I know, there's only the one claim. But I'm saying that the 1924 Albert Ostman Bigfoot abduction is the only one I know of. But what was happening, there was something was tearing up his campsite. So what he did was he hid in a sleeping bag with his rifle, and he was waiting to see who the culprit was, and he was going to get out of the sleeping bag and shoot him. Well, something picked him up and carried him for miles and miles. Here, he was there with the Sasquatch family, a male, female, and two small ones. And Albert Ostman thought that they were going to use him for breeding purposes. So he's freaking out. So what he did was he tempted the elderly Bigfoot, the father, with some chewing tobacco. He got sick, and as he was getting sick, Albert Ostman took off.
Okay, so this, do you believe this guy?
Well, it's when John Green, one of the four horsemen of Sasquatchery, interviewed him, he believed that what he said was legitimate. And this was in 1924, before there was a whole lot of information about Sasquatch out there. So what Albert Ostman said, other than the smell, he didn't talk about the horrific smell that everybody talks about, the skunky, wet dog, rotten eggs smell. He didn't talk about the smell, but he gave his account. And what I was saying is that the 1924 abduction account sort of parallels in the world of UFO the 1960s account of Betty and Barney.
Oh, okay.
Claimed that they were. So, and if you take a look at some commonalities, Ostman's 24 abduction and Betty and Barney Hill's 1960s abduction. Take a look at the 1967 Patterson Gimlin film versus the 2004 San Diego, United States Navy film, the Tic Tac thing. I mean, you have these parallels, you have these commonalities, you have these connectors. The Humboldt Times coming out with the the name Bigfoot, 1958. The first time the world heard the words, I mean, the mainstream America, you and I heard about the word Bigfoot. They started to write about these Bigfoot uh, prints, and the Humboldt Times got thousands of letters, people asking about this. So that was 1958, as opposed to 1947, when Kenneth Arnold saw those 9 discs, and he said they were discs that looked like saucers skimming over the water. So the Bigfoot from 1958 parallels the flying saucer. The newspaper reporter used the wrong terminology. He should have called them flying disc, but he said flying saucers. So again, 1947 flying saucers versus 1958 Bigfoot. So again, here's some connectors, some commonality. And the last one just being the terminology, but that's what we go by. We talk about saucer. And I still talk about flying saucers rather than UAPs. I mean, it's sexier and juicier. I just like the way it sounds. So shoot me. I mean, Pentagon.
Well, it's interesting, and I don't know if I'm asking the right question, but I hope you can understand what I'm trying to ask. So earlier you had brought up like the abominable snowman, the yeti, this that, like the different names for these, the different parts of the world that
Yeah.
this a big ape, that, or a big man-like ape, or whatever you want to call, exists. Now, obviously, the abominable snowman has different features. It's white because it's adapted to that type of environment.
Yeah.
However, do you in your research and other people's and reading other people's research, do these all have the same characteristics as what we know as a Bigfoot? And do you think that it's just that they've been labeled this way because of an instance of what happened where he said flying saucer instead of flying disc?
Yeah. I mean, there may be commonality between Almas, the abominable snowman, and Bigfoot. There may be, but here's the thing: Russian scientists have been involved in searching for the abominable snowman, or what they call the Almas, in their area. They've been doing this for a long time. There was a $2 million project back in I think the 60s, when these Russian Soviet scientists were looking for it, and that was a lot of money back then as it is today. So they looked and they couldn't find anything. But one of the 4 horsemen of Sasquatch, Rene Dahinden, took the Patterson-Gimlin film over there to Russia and showed it. Again, 58 seconds. And they looked at it and they believed that was something that was valid. But the Russian scientists seemed to be more aboard this than American scientists. One of the Russian scientists had a theory called hominology, that there was a unknown species out there. It wasn't a human Homo sapiens, but it was an unknown, unspecified species that was walking out there. And that may have been the missing link, the connection to Bigfoot. So those Russian scientists back then were working under that premise of that hypothesis. So they were a little bit more advanced, I think, than we were. And but now, we're Jeff Meldrum and Lauren Coleman are the ones that stand out as being the scientists that are cryptozoologists that are standing head and shoulders above all of us. And Coleman even believes that Gigantopithecus may be a separate species other than than man. So he has an interesting theory about that. But but again, they all talk about Giganto and Neanderthal and all that. I talk a lot in the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot. I talk about the missing link theory, and I say there's no such thing as the missing link. Man and ape had a SCA, a single common ancestor, and millions of years ago, apes branched out, climbed the trees, and successfully evolved. And then later, man climbed those trees and successfully evolved as Neanderthal and Homo erectus and Homo sapiens. Man shares, this is interesting, man shares something like 98% of the DNA with chimps and gorillas and bonobos. 98%. And it's interesting, like we are, Taryn, we have like 2% DNA that's unique to us. And I always wanted to write a book, the 2%. Like, what is that? I mean, what do we have? What does that 2% represent? You know,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Have you ever done the 23andMe or anything like that? So
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we have.
and it's funny you bring it because Neanderthal is in my DNA.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's great. So that gives you your beautiful hair color, and probably your restless sleep patterns and
So true. I don't sleep. I don't sleep.
Yeah,
Thanks
my
a
wife,
lot,
my wife
Neanderthal.
doesn't either. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, my Neanderthalian ancestor.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So when I first heard that, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, when you look at the numbers, man shares more commonality with the great apes than some apes do to each other.
Hmm.
It's just amazing stuff, So
Well, when you watch them, I mean, they're one of my most favorite things. They are apes and themselves are fascinating, and maybe because they are so human-like and they're behind these cages, and you look at them and you their facial expressions. I mean, I literally got flipped off by one of the gorillas at the Philadelphia Zoo one time.
yeah,
It was like a side one, but he gave me the finger. I have a picture of it.
Oh, that's good. So they know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta know what it is, right? I mean, what else? I mean, and they're so fascinating. They're so like
Yeah.
human-like, and so
Yeah. So I wanted to say Neanderthal is our closest relative, and some of us shared that DNA with that relative. We have a lot of information about Neanderthals because they lived in these sandstone caves. So when they died, there were bones and fossils and everything. The record was preserved pretty good. They buried their dead. They had family units. I mean, we look at them as being apes and stupid, but there's some researchers that believe that Neanderthals developed psychic abilities. So again, a theory, and so Neanderthals are pretty interesting. To just read about some of the anthropology, is just amazing. What's happening in the world of cryptozoology, and in the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, I do talk about some of the hoaxers like the Piltdown Man and the Minnesota Iceman, and just interesting stuff, with that why people would perpetrate hoaxes, what they gain from it, but just incredible stuff. So if you get a chance to pick up The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, I encourage you to do that. I think it's a great book, but also please consider putting a review on Amazon.com. It means so much to us authors, to be able to get that feedback.
yeah,
It helps quite a bit. So
absolutely. And I say this on all my shows, but I mean, if whoever's watching, please share it out. Not for me, not for Paranormal Brew, but for Maxim, his book, his research, for all the people that he's mentioned that he looks up to, that have done awesome research in the field. I mean, share the show out so that it gets out there, so people have, it's not the same old. I love when there's real research being done and real, searching being done. That's what's got to get out there.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the more we do that, the more our genre, our craft, is looked upon with more validity and respect. That we're not just a bunch of kooks, and that we have good hearts, and we're and common sense, and we have a scientific basis and scientific rationale. So that's I think that we want to get out there. And the other thing too is, I would hope that more Bigfoot people would go and embrace environmentalists, because at the very least, we should be the stewards for the environment, just like Sasquatch was, and just like the Pacific Northwest, the Canadian peoples, the coastal peoples said that Sasquatch was the protector of the environment. And that's just such a good legacy, something that so many people had talked about.
Almost like how we think like Indian spirit, Indian spirits and Indian, you know, they were very protective of the land. And then, when you
Mhm.
find out, you're investigating on like an Indian burial ground, or there was, you tend to feel that little bit of an extra, I don't know, that extra ominous spirituality in the air when you find that out, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Well, when you go into the woods, I mean, it's a spiritual thing, I mean, you're away from civilization, you're there with nature, and you breathe it and live it and experience it. I mean, it's the most wonderful thing. It's therapeutic. I mean,
Yeah,
if you got your woes, go take a walk in the woods.
yeah,
I mean, you can't say enough about that. And let's just hope that we preserve our environment for our children and our children's children and our
yeah.
grandchildren, because right now we're not doing a very good job about it. And I don't want anybody to say that that we're talking we're off topic. I mean, preserving the environment and preserving the planet is the same thing that the Space Brothers told George Adamski. That was exactly what they did. Just take care of what you got. So that
Oh,
message.
I'm with you
Yeah,
100%. You
yeah,
have no idea. Like, I can't stand seeing wooded areas being bulldozed down to put up
yeah.
another apartment complex,
Yeah, oh,
like,
yeah, right, yeah,
and for me, it's not just the environment, but it's the animals, it's their homes, it's their,
right,
it's their survival. Like, we're so ignorant, to just take advantage of what we're given. Everything that is on this planet plays a vital role in making each day go by,
yeah,
and
exactly, yeah, right, yeah,
you
yeah,
take something out of the ecosystem and you take something away, like, we diminish a little by little by little,
right.
and so I agree with you on that 100%,
Well,
and
maybe the younger generation is getting it. Maybe the millennials and Generation Z are getting it. Maybe they're committed to do this. I mean, we had our issues in our as a baby boomer. My group was born between 46 and 64. We were into civil rights and women's rights and ending Vietnam and all that. I think we did a whole lot. And now maybe it's time for other generations to step up and assume that mantle, and you know, and you know, and maybe do something. So, but
yeah.
I think we're seeing a lot of energy and passion. I think a lot of younger people are registering to vote, which is a good sign. So,
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I it's we have to I feel like we've been stagnant for a little bit. We have to move forward. We gotta do something, right? I mean, I think it's great that they started to recognize more UFO stuff,
yeah,
the government, the and this and that. So, that's one step in the right direction where they've
yeah.
admitted that there's,
Uh,
things extraterrestrially out there.
yep, yep, yep. And if anybody's into the flying saucers, here is Flying Saucer Esoteric, the altered states of ufology. And it starts with the days before Christ, when people saw things in the sky, and a lot of times they were viewed as heretics, for what they said. And then it ends with the 2023 congressional hearings, where David Grush testified that he knows where the bodies are and he knows where the crafts are, so where they're buried. So I had written a letter to Senator Marco Rubio, who's on the UFO committee, and I said, it's time to ask David Grush to show us cards. He said he knows where they are. Okay, well, tell us, where are they? So I wrote him a letter. He sent me a letter back, and I'm formulating another letter to Marco Rubio. But so at least I have a correspondence going with him.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
as as a private citizen, I have that right to do that.
Yeah. So before we go, I want to know, do you think Bigfoot would enjoy listening to music, or do you think it would just be noise? And if so, what kind of music do you think Bigfoot would like?
I think something rhythmic and soothing. I don't think it'd be rap or hip hop. I don't think it'd
Oh,
be
wow. Yep,
metal
agree.
or rock. Yeah, I think it'd be something soothing. Uh, and but yeah, that's, of course, music is so therapeutic for all of us. just good vibes, good vibrations. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. But I like those questions when people ask me, like, what would you do if you saw Bigfoot? What kind of music do you think they listen to? What do you suppose they do all day? I mean, it's nice to think about that,
Right. Like not be, like maybe just because it's all theories, it's all opinions, it's all,
Yeah,
so it's nice to hear, people's opinions, about stuff like that,
yeah,
and it's fun, it's not like we're being like, it's just something fun to think about,
yeah, yeah. One thing I'd like to ask your listeners, if they're interested, if they could check out my Facebook page, it's Maxim Furek, and take a look at the book design for Paranormal Apocalypse, and just let me know what you think. I want to, and I'll send it to you when we're through with this. But I'm just curious if I should leave it as it is or make some changes. But
Yeah,
I
no,
think it's
absolutely.
pretty awesome the way it is. So I wish I could get it on the screen now, but I don't know how to
I
do
wish
that.
you
So
could too, but I don't know how. Like,
I'd blow everything up.
this is like a new program I'm using, so I
Yeah.
don't know. Oh, maybe you could send it in the private chat. Do you see a chat button?
No, wait. Private chat. Yeah.
So maybe you could
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Hang on one
maybe
second.
we could send it there. This is something new. I'm just gonna try it and see if it
Okay.
works.
Okay. Well, here it is. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm gonna click out of here. I might. Well, I'm afraid I'm
Wait a
gonna lose.
second.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Hold on. Where is I have chat? Where is the private chat? Oh, there it is.
Oh, you can see it.
No.
Oh,
Where'd you send it to did you send it to Facebook?
no, to that chat. Okay. Let me.
You
Okay. I don't know how to get out of here.
no,
And
sorry.
that's okay. I'm afraid that if I hit the one red button, I'm gonna just wink out of this thing, and I
Oh,
won't.
yeah, don't wink out.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Don't wink out before saying bye anyway.
Okay, okay. Well, thanks so much. Yeah, I will send this to you as soon as we
Yeah, send it
and
to me. I'll put it up on Paranormal Brew's page and on my pages. I'll put it up,
okay.
and have everybody, you know, give an opinion
Yeah,
on
okay, good. Yeah, just an opinion. It's just
yeah,
a prototype, but I kind of like it. It's real spooky. So I'll send this to you. So
awesome.
okay.
Well, Maxim, thank you so oh, here. Here is the post. All right, so wait, but I don't know how to that's the post I think from your so the link is actually in the chat. Thank you, Jesse. But I don't know how to get to that. But unless I get out, because
Yeah.
it's when I click on that, it's just putting it up here. See? So, but I'll share that or share the picture when you share it with me.
Okay.
I want to thank you so much for coming on. You
Oh,
are fantastic. I love having you on. We have to do this more often. You have
oh, yeah, let's. Okay, yeah, we'll definitely do that. Maybe we could pick a
how about
topic.
when after you come out after Paranormal Apocalypse comes out? How about come on and we'll talk about that?
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm looking. Okay, that would be great. So, yeah, thank you. This is just so nice to see. Here, Jesse Torok, my good friend, uh, put a link there. So, oh, that might be to my Facebook page. Okay.
I think it's the link for whatever picture you're trying to. Oh,
Correct. Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I did put it up there. I did put it up, but people can click on it in the chat.
Okay.
So,
Good.
but
Okay.
I'll share it as well. So, whatever. When I get it, I'll share it. Um,
Okay.
I
Well,
want to thank you so much for coming on. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
I forget. I don't know.
You're like me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to thank you so much for coming on. It was great. It was so I learned some things tonight that I didn't even know, were out there. So
Uh,
definitely I'm going to be looking into that stuff. I'm looking forward to reading this book, and then I'm looking forward to your next book, to be honest with you.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think it's gonna turn some heads. I think it's gonna make some noise. So
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Tara, thanks so much. I love being on your program. You do a great job. So
thank
thank you.
you.
And let's keep in touch. Okay.
Absolutely. I will see you soon.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Maxim.
Okay.
Whew, great show. I'm telling you, the guy, he's awesome. Please go check him out. Go on the Facebook, share the show out for him. Not me. Again, not me. Share it out for him. Um, um, the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, and then his next book, Paranormal Apocalypse. But he has other books. Please go check him out. He's a fantastic author. With that being said, it's time for me to say good night. I enjoyed my time with y'all, but I will see you next week. Now, let me see if I can do this. Good night, everyone. Hold on.